Former Governor Jesse Ventura, author of Don't Start the Revolution Without Me, remains with us. Joining us now, our political panel in Washington, Amy Holmes, CNN political analyst and Republican strategist. Also in Washington, Kevin Madden, former Romney spokesperson, Republican strategist. In New York, Lisa Caputo. She was press secretary for First Lady Hillary Clinton, deputy assistant to President Bill Clinton, and is a supporter of Hillary's. And in Columbus, Ohio, David Wilhelm, former campaign manager for Bill Clinton, now a supporter for Barack Obama. Amy, first, what do you think of the Jesse Ventura candidacy, if possible?
Well, I certainly understand his frustration with, being just fed up with Washington politics. It's a perennial problem that voters see, that here in Washington, it's quagmire, it's fighting, nothing ever gets done. And I think Jesse Ventura's election as governor was tremendous. It was a watershed moment. I remember that night. I remember the excitement and the thrill people had that they could get around this two-party system. But we heard him saying tonight, Governor, that it's likely, it's impossible, it's unlikely, but hey, I think you're speaking to a real concern out there among American voters.
Kevin Madden, what do you think?
Well, I think there's a big difference between, you asked the question before about whether he was, whether he's a cynic or whether there's pessimism. I think there's a big difference between trying to tap into cynicism out there and pessimism versus a anxiety that the American public has about the status quo. I think if people can talk about solutions and can challenge the status quo, the way Barack Obama has and the way John McCain now seems to be gearing his campaign towards, I think people can do well, but the realities will never be fit perfectly for a Jesse Ventura candidacy.
You want to respond, Jesse? You don't think, you laughed when he said Obama. You don't think Obama can change the...
I think the only thing that's going to change is that your taxes are going to go up. Now let me categorize this. Both of them spend equally. Wait a minute. Both of them spend equally. The difference is the Republicans put it on the credit card, the national debt. The Democrats are more cash and carry. So it'll be equal spending. It's just that now our taxes will go up.
But Governor, just to jump in there. Oh, sorry. To jump in there.
Just bring everyone in, then we'll get back to you, Amy.
Sure.
Lisa Caputo, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think what the governor said is very poignant. I think that when you take a step back and you look at the field right now, it's clearly Senator McCain who is running on the same platform as President Bush and wants to extend the tax cuts to the wealthiest Americans. And I think that you see on the Democratic side, Senators Obama and Senator Clinton not wanting to do so. I think also that the governor does tap into this desire to shake up Washington, to have people in elected office to change the way things are done.
And David Wilhelm, what are your thoughts about Governor Ventura? And then we're going to talk about the whole political spectrum. David?
Well, I don't know him, but I like him. I like much of what he had to say. Obviously, he speaks with an authentic and energetic voice. He taps into the very real frustration that people feel about the inside the Beltway non-action. I guess as a former Democratic Party chair, I need to take some exception to the notion that there's really no difference between the two parties. I think there's actually a pretty significant difference between the two parties, whether it's on Iraq or whether it's on economic growth policies, or whether a party like the one that I once led, that has been the party of civil rights and Social Security and the New Deal and winning in World War II. I remember asking my dad, an immigrant, why we were Democrats, and he said because they stand up for the little guy. And I think part of what Governor Ventura is saying, the parties have got to get back to that. The role of big money needs to be diminished, and we need to stand up for the little guy once again.
Governor, wasn't the Democratic Party generally regarded as the party of the little guy?
Yeah, they might be, but in the words of my buddy Charles Barkley, poor people have been voting Democrat for 50 years and they're still poor.
You don't think the programs have worked?
No.
Amy, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to go to the governor's point about spending and John McCain. He has been campaigning vigorously against that spending, against this out-of-control spending, and a lot of Republicans blame their losses in 2006 on out-of-control government spending. So I don't think it's exactly fair to be characterizing, as David was saying, to be characterizing the Republicans and the Democrats as interchangeable. John McCain, this is a central platform for John McCain's campaign this year.
Well, out-of-control spending, let's begin with the unnecessary war in Iraq. But that's the kind of big issue that represents a fundamental difference between the two parties. And I guess that's the point I want to make. I do not believe that there isn't a dime's worth of difference between the two parties. I think this race is about big stuff this year.
Jesse?
Okay, now the Democrats are opposed to the war in Iraq. What about before it happened? Where was their spine then? They went along with it, they voted for it, they gave the president this carte blanche to go, and you know why they did it? Because they believed that it would be about a 3-week war, gas prices would go down, and if they weren't on board, it would solidify the Republican position. They were gutless when it came to the war on Iraq, and now all of a sudden at the 11th hour, because it's gone bad now they're trying to tell us they didn't support it. The Democrats did too support
Let me get a break and come back. Hold on, we'll come back and we'll discuss.